Hey Zwifters, we're back. Season 3, Stage 1. We're in Watopia and it's Road to Ruins. No segment points on this one, so there's no fastest through and no first across the line on any sprint or any climb because we don't go through any. But it is a fantastic course and a technical course and quite a big section that is on dirt. 9.9 kilometers to be exact of this are on dirt. So maybe we should be thinking about a bike change, but I am going to go through that in a bit more detail. But first of all, let's have a look at the stats for this course. All right, so the course itself, 30.2 kilometers, 276 meters of elevation. There's two really climbing sections here. One comes quite early on the road where we take in sort of the base of the Epic Com, the switchbacks of the Epic Com, before we take that right turn and drop down into the jungle. And then climbing out of the jungle is also a little bit of a climb, but it's also on road. All right, so out of this 30 kilometers, we have 18.3 kilometers are on tarmac. That's 62% of the course is on tarmac. We've got 1.45 kilometers on the woods. That's the bridges sections. Again, that covers about 5%. There's a little tiny bit of cobbles, but it's less than 100 meters. And then we've got the dirt, which is 9.9 kilometers, as I've said, and that's 33% of the course. All right, so in terms of the power-ups, we'll take a look at these before we get out on course. We've got the draft, which is useful in many scenarios. We've got the feather. Again, this could be utilized in a few places. That Epic Com switchback, maybe if you're thinking about a bike change, you can utilize that to get a gap up that climb. Then of course we have the steamroller, which is going to reduce your rolling resistance of whichever bike you're on. Using this in the dirt section only, don't even think about using it on the tarmac. This is for those dirt sections, closing gaps or making gaps. You make that decision. All right, so changing bike is going to depend on a few things. How are you playing Zwift? Are you using a PC? Are you using Apple TV or a tablet or something like that? If you're using a gaming PC, we know you can get that bike change down to under 10 seconds. It's a little bit different if you're on Apple TV or a tablet using that remote. It's a little bit fiddly. So that's the first thing you've got to decide. Secondly, which category are you riding? There's less case or less strong case, if you like, for doing a bike change in the A division, but I think B, C and D categories, then there's a good case and a good story to potentially change bike to a gravel bike on this course. Now I know Eric at Zwift Insider has run some new tests on the new gravel bikes and the new gravel wheels that have come out, and I think on this particular section through the dirt where it is rolling, it is up and down, I think the gravel bike will be a better choice than the mountain bike through this particular section. But you are going to need to make two changes. One is you enter the jungle, or actually you enter the dirt, not particularly the jungle. And also when you leave the dirt or leave the jungle, you are going to need to change back to a road bike, because a single rider on a gravel or a mountain bike is not going to hold off a chasing group of riders on road bikes. So just briefly looking at some of the tests, and I will leave links to those down in the description below. I think the gravel bike and the mountain bike are anywhere between 40 seconds to a minute faster through the dirt than a road bike. But we do know that time is made up on the tarmac. So if you are going for a no bike swap strategy, then just go for an aero bike. Just finally, the other thing maybe to consider for a bike change, and again, draft is still relevant when you're on a gravel bike here, so it may be worth considering getting your whole team to swap. I know Paul Fitzpatrick has spoke about this in the past, and it is complicated because you're relying on 6 riders all making a change at the same time and packing together, but I think that's another way, again, a pack change as a whole team, that again you're making the most of the draft, plus you're on a better bike for the dirt. That is also something we consider. If you remember, think back to the video I did a couple months ago where BL13 in the crit races in the Okio launched off the front as a team. Could we see something similar on this particular course? I think it's a strong possibility. Don't forget, as always, guys, let me know what you think. Are you going to be doing a bike change? What are your thoughts on the bike change scenario for this particular course? Leave all your comments in the description below, or even just drop me a note on Facebook. Anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's get out on course. All right, so we're going to leave the pens here, leave downtown Watopia and head towards those ocean tunnels. And we've got 4.8 kilometers of rolling roads here before we hit the foot of the epic com. Alright, so here you're going to reach the foot of the epic com switchbacks at kilometer 4.8. Now you've got about 1200 meters of climbing here before we take the right turn onto the jungle section official. 1200 meters. It does pitch up quite heavily at the start of this climb here. This is going to suit those riders with a great 1 minute power. As we go over the bridge, as you know we did this towards the end of last season, it will flatten off a bit. So really bury yourself to stay in touch with that front group if possible for this first 60 seconds to 2 minutes. This is where potentially it could make or break the race. 1200 meters, dig in, dig deep, get yourself into that jungle. So as you go through the entrance to the jungle here, it does continue to drag up 1, 2, 3%. You're going to go past the pens here, and as you go over past the pens, you will start to descend and drop down into the jungle. Now you actually do not hit any dirt until kilometer 8.0. And this first couple hundred meters of dirt, if you are going to make a bike change, this is not the place to make it. You are descending. I know there are ways, if you hit A on the keyboard, you will stop it very, very quickly. But there's a junction coming up where the road flattens off and just pitches up slightly, which I'm going to show you now. It is where I would make the bike change. So this is the point, kilometer 8.8, that if you're going to make a bike change, this is the place I would do it. It does start to climb up slightly, so if you need to slow down, you'll slow down quite quickly here. Now, once you've done your bike change, whether that takes 5 seconds or 15 seconds, be prepared because you're going to need to re-accelerate really quickly. Get the power down. You're going to need about 10 to 20 seconds to get that pace up, get that momentum up, and close that gap on any potential group in front. So as I said, the whole of the jungle is quite rolling, so you will need to stay really switched on here if you're just sticking with the pack. It continually descends and ascends all the way through the 9.9 kilometers. Just be careful when you come over the bridge here, it does pitch up to about 9%, and this is where I've seen little kicks from some of the racers I've raced against on this course in the past. Alright, so you're going to leave the dirt here at 17.5, and again it does immediately climb up to leave the jungle. If you're going to make a bike change back, this is where to make it. If you make the bike change, in my opinion, you have to change back. You simply will not hold the gap if you stay on the gravel or the mountain bike. So you need to change back, and this is the point to do it. It's on an incline, so you'll slow down quickly. And again, if anyone is with you and they don't make a change, you'll hopefully be able to close that gap pretty quickly on this climb. So kilometer 17.5, you leave the dirt. This is the place to make that change back. Alright, so we're going to climb out of the jungle. When we get to the top here, we'll take a left and descend back down the epic com switchback. Plenty of opportunity here to super tuck, but again, just those lighter riders, just be careful if there's any heavier riders here and any gaps don't open up on the descent. So then the road is fairly rolling until we head towards the volcano, and then there's just one place to watch as we approach the finish line is just this right switchback climb at the base of the volcano here. It comes at kilometer 26.5. This is a place where on a number of courses you can just try and stretch it out a little bit dependent on how big the pack is. And then it's basically a rolling road with a little bit of descent and then pan flat for an all-out sprint for those finish line points in downtown Watopia. So that is it. That's the course, and it's all about the bike change, or just maybe not. I've rewatched a lot of races on this particular course, and again, in the higher categories, mainly the A division, you don't see too many bike changes. In the lower category, I think there's a really good case to bike change. Maybe, as I've said, you do it as a team. In terms of the bike choice, if you're not bike changing, just go for the most aero setup you can. In terms of the bike change, I would go for 2 bikes, 1 road and 1 gravel, 1 off-road bike, which are close to each other in terms of your garage. And you'll see here, when I did the bike change, I went from the Cervelo through to the Canyon Grail and then back to the Cervelo, because again, I didn't have to scroll too much when I was selecting the bikes. Alright, as always, I'm going to leave links to the Zwift Insider pages for this course and relevant bikes in the description below. I'm also going to leave the link, as always, to the race notes, which has all the distance and timings for all those key features in this particular course. Now, go and ride this course, go and do a recon, and as always, or back again should I say, of the rave cons with the ladies at Team Rave. I'm doing the first one, so again, on Sunday evening, 6 p.m. UK time. I'll leave a link in the description below and something will pop up here on screen as well. Come and join me and the ladies over at Team Rave for the rave con, Sunday evening, 6 p.m. Ride on.